Go and throttle up. Go and throttle up.
Wait. Stop the music. You want the dubs? You want the dub wubs? Fine. There you go. Enjoy. I mean, you asked for it, you got it. Welcome, everybody, to the last stream from the apartment. Last one. It's weird, man. It's actually, you know what? I might. If Verizon might be late, they said they might be late, so I might have internet tomorrow, so we might stream tomorrow. Maybe. That's a big maybe, okay? Is there a link for those sick beats? Yeah. That's called See the Light by Evgeny Bardyuza. Bardyuza? Yeah. So, yeah. I might be around tomorrow. Maybe. It depends. Rocket 3 is dead. I did hear about that. But yeah. It depends. If Verizon isn't coming until late tomorrow, maybe I'll get a daytime stream and maybe not. I don't know. But yeah, last one from the apartment, dudes. Exactly, Aqua. So that's why there might be a stream tomorrow. When do you move mission control behind you? I already started packing up, guys. We actually broke into the office and yeah, see, starting to pack stuff up in boxes and stuff. I have all that box over there that was down there. I have all my spacecraft memorabilia. There's pieces of space shuttles in there. There's tiles in there. There's all the stuff that people have given me over the years. The kit is not packed, drummer. No. Yeah. Yeah, I saw it, Creeper, yeah. So, the end of an era. We've been in like 3 different eras on this great stream. We will begin the 3rd one. Yep.
Discovery, go at throttle up.
Man in Black. 1 launch, 2 launch, 3 launch, 4 launch. Killer jersey on the wall there, guy. Yep. So when is the new house tour? 10, there's probably not going to be a house tour, but the garage, though. Yeah. Nice, Nickade. Nice. And need backup with a tier 2 84. Bonk the honk.
The Eagle has landed.
Uh-oh. The SpaceX stream went live. Does the new house have a turbo encabulator? We're gonna have to build it. But yeah. So almost through the stressful part of moving. Good luck in your new home. Yep. So fellas, guys, this move is actually going pretty dang well. Depending on how the thing gets sets up, I might be able to end up doing a stream sometime next week. Gonna still have gigabit at the new place. Yep, they're just moving our connection out there. And the ISP, because I have a business line, had no problem. They said they're gonna wire up. They said they're gonna wire up the garage too. So, yeah, depending on what they meant by that, yeah, you guys will see a stream sooner rather than later. But yeah, if I don't see the next stream is scheduled for next, not Tuesday, but the Tuesday after that. So, yeah. Kippy, hey, 11-month resub. So, yeah, it's crazy, man. Seems like we just moved here. But yeah, onward and upward, you know. And speaking of onward and upward, KPLO time, baby. SpaceX shooting stuff out to the moon.
6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Go for launch.
Yeah, go for the 16. Yep. It'll probably end up being the 15. Hey, Ren, what's going on, man?
Vehicle is supersonic.
Stage separation confirmed. Dragon, separation confirmed.
Korean Pathfinder lunar orbiter.
Stage 1 is transonic.
You'll hear about it in a second.
Deployed.
To the moon. Yep.
And Falcon 9 has landed.
Mason, what'd I do with my hands? I don't know. You put them by your side.
Hello everyone, it's Thursday, August 4th, and you're looking at a live view of Falcon 9 at Space Launch Complex 40, awaiting liftoff currently scheduled at 7:08 p.m. Eastern Time. My name is Andy Tran, and I'm a quality engineer here at SpaceX's headquarters in Hawthorne, California. I'll be your host for SpaceX's 172nd overall launch and the 34th launch of this year.
Meaning of
Our
life.
webcast today will cover the KPLO mission, or Korea Pathfinder Lunar Orbiter mission, headed to a ballistic lunar transfer orbit, which we'll get into a little bit later. For background, KPLO was given the Korean name of Tanuri, which is a combination of 2 Korean words, Tair, which means moon, and Nurida, which means to enjoy. KPLO will also be South Korea's first lunar orbiter, and it's been in development by the Korea Aerospace Research Institute, or KARI, since 2016. On board the lunar orbiter are a total of 6 science and technology payloads from renowned organizations such as the Kyunghee University, the Korea Institute of Geoscience and Mineral Resources, the Korea Astronomy and Space Science Institute, and NASA. On today's mission, in addition to KPLO, we have another special rideshare on board. If you've been following SpaceX, you may remember that we launched a Tesla Roadster as the payload for our Falcon Heavy demonstration back in 2018.
That's a real picture.
The early supporters of Tesla provided photos that were etched into a mosaic, and some were given the opportunity to put together a digital time capsule, both of which are now bolted onto the second stage. Following separation from the first stage, the second stage will continue to travel through time and space with a mosaic and time capsule. Although we may not see views of this right after the fairing separates, we'll keep an eye out for it throughout the mission and try to point it out if we do see it. For now, let's learn a little bit more about the Falcon 9 launch vehicle. Falcon 9 is a reusable two-stage rocket designed and manufactured by SpaceX for the reliable and safe transport of people and payloads to Earth orbit and beyond. Starting from the bottom of the vehicle, we have our first stage, which is the largest part of Falcon 9. And as the name suggests, Falcon 9 has 9 Merlin or M1D engines at the bottom of the first stage, and this allows it to accelerate through the Earth's atmosphere into various orbits in space.
I think so, mate.
The dark soot that you see around the lower part of the first stage are remnants from its 5 previous launches. After lifting off for the 6th time today, we'll attempt to recover our first stage again on our drone ship that you see on screen. That one is named Just Read the Instructions and is currently waiting in the Atlantic Ocean. Above the first stage, we have the black carbon fiber interstage that connects the first and second stages. The interstage has pneumatic pushers to allow the 2 stages to separate, and also houses the Merlin vacuum engine on the second stage that will take our payload into its desired orbit. At the very top of Falcon 9, we have the payload fairing. It is made up of 2 carbon fiber pieces that come together to encapsulate the KPLO payload and protects it until we reach the vacuum of space. Once in space, the 2 pieces will separate from each other and begin their journey back to Earth. Similar to our first stage, we'll also recover the fairing halves to fly again in the future. So that was a little bit about Falcon 9, our launch vehicle. Now let's learn more about the mission at hand and the payload flying on board Falcon 9 today.
7th time on this one, team man. Very good.
KPLO is an acronym for Korea Pathfinder Lunar Orbiter, and its Korean name is Danuri. It is South Korea's first lunar orbiter and has been developed since 2016. It will be launched in early August 2022. It has a total of 6 science and technology payloads and will travel in DLT orbit for about 4.5 months to reach the moon, and then enter the lunar mission orbit at the end of December 2022.
That
Total
really
mass
need to be
of Danuri is 678 kilograms. After launch, 2 solar panels, a high-gain antenna, and a magnetometer are deployed for flight configuration in space. Total 6 payloads are equipped in the Danuri: Lunar Terrain Imager, LUTI, Wide-Angle Polarimetric Camera, POLCAM, Gamma Ray Spectrometer, KGRS, Magnetometer, KMAG, Delay Tolerant Network, DTNPL, Permanent Shadow Region Camera from NASA, ShadowCam.
Cool.
Danuri is launched toward the sun, not the moon. It will travel for about a month as the sun gravity pulls it. Finally, it will reach around the L1 Lagrange point, which is the point of equilibrium under the influence of the sun and the Earth's gravity.
ESL1, that's cool.
After that, when the TCM burn is started to make sure it can reach the moon on the desired date, it will be pulled by the gravitational force of the Earth, the moon, and the sun to travel several million kilometers.
That's some orbital mechanics right there.
It will naturally approach the moon that is revolving around the Earth. After entering the lunar orbit, Danuri will maneuver several times to reduce the orbit altitude. Finally, it will reach the mission altitude of 100
ballistic
kilometers
lunar
in
trajectory.
polar
That's
and
really
circular
cool.
orbit for 6 payload missions.
Yeah.
LUTI is a high-resolution camera that has
I'll tell you guys more about it after this.
images of the lunar surface. POLCAM is composed of 2 cameras slanted by 45 degrees each to take polarimetric images of moon surface.
That's correct.
The gamma ray spectrometer is used to make a map of
Less
5
delta V,
major
Chief.
elements on the entire surface of the moon. Magnetometer is used to measure the strength of the magnetic field, which is invisible.
What is that?
Shadow Cam will record images
Boreal
of
effects on the moon?
shaded regions around the poles of Moon.
Hey, there
where
he
no
is.
sunlight can reach.
Tier 2, 67 month, man.
DTNP
Yeah, Nico.
will conduct the world's first communication test on the Moon.
This is a big
From
deal.
this time on, Korean space research and development will experience a very important turning point thanks to Danuri. It is a very significant milestone in the history of Korean space exploration. Danuri is just at the beginning. And
Yeah, Bandit.
if we are more determined and committed to technology development for space travel, we will be able to reach Mars, asteroids, and so on in the near future.
As we saw in the
Cool.
video, KPLO's final destination will be the moon, or a lunar orbit to be more precise. Traditionally, if we wanted to send something to the moon, we would launch the payload into a lunar transfer orbit or a trans-lunar injection orbit. A lunar transfer orbit has an apogee altitude of approximately 385,000 kilometers, which is roughly the distance
250,000
between
miles.
the moon and the Earth. To support this type of launch, our teams would select a launch window that would allow the payload to meet the moon when it reaches apogee, and at that point it would use its own propulsion to get into an orbit around the moon. Although this is the fastest approach, it also requires a significant amount of fuel for the payload to get into its final orbit around the moon. KPLO will instead be launched into a ballistic lunar transfer
that's
orbit, which will
freaking
require
metal.
KPLO to be launched into a much higher orbit of about 1.2 million kilometers, which is about 3 times higher than the lunar orbit we just saw. At this height, the gravitational pull from the sun starts becoming dominant compared to that of the Earth. The payload will then fire its thrusters to put itself on a return trajectory towards Earth, and this will bring it closer to the moon, where it will once again use its thrusters to maneuver into a lunar orbit. The ballistic lunar transfer approach takes much longer to get into the final lunar orbit, but it requires
I know,
a lot
Pi.
less
Shoot it at the
fuel
sun
from
to get to the
satellite.
moon. Cool.
So turning our attention back on screen, we see that the strong back, which is that
Rich Parnell may be Korean. Good reference. So that ballistic lunar trajectory is going to use solar perturbations. So they're basically going to shoot it at the sun. The sun's going to pull it out. And then when its relative velocity to Earth gets really, really low, right, because it's in a higher orbit, the apogee is very, very high, they'll fire the thrusters, and it'll basically put it on a nice return trajectory. And the firing the thrusters out there is like maybe like 2 to 3 meters a second delta V, and that'll be able to put it on a return trajectory to basically fall on a trajectory where the moon's going to pull it in, which is a ballistic lunar trajectory like that is a very low energy, low delta V type of trajectory. And since there's no consumables, or like there's no commodities, there's no people on this, obviously it's just a probe. It can stay out there for a long time. Look at the plane up there on the right. Those people are about to have a real good view. The rocket's going that way, by the way. That's why the plane is over there. So you can afford to do a 4.5 month transfer orbit out to the moon because it's the least amount of delta V. Compare that during like the Apollo program, like what they just showed on the screen. The TLI burn was a way higher. It was a way higher energy transfer, meaning that they needed to use much more fuel, but that was moving people, and it was moving people out to the moon, and they only have so much oxygen on board, right? So time is of the essence, so you use a higher energy orbit because eventually Neil, Buzz, and Mike would have ran out of oxygen. You know, that's kind of important. You kind of need that. So this one's going on a ballistic trajectory because there's no time constraints. It'll take about 4.5 months to get out to the moon, but it'll use maybe like, I don't know, less than a quarter of the delta V that you'd need to do like an Apollo style transfer. It's really, really interesting stuff. Hunter, gifted a sub to KJ Prime. Thank you very much, and thank you for all the subs, guys. I do appreciate it. I'm going to shut up. Let's sit back and enjoy this launch. Prepare to fast forward. Preparing to fast forward. Fast forwarding, sir.
Stage 2 lock load is complete. That call up for Stage 2 lock.
What am I looking at? When does this happen in the launch? Now. You're looking at now, sir. Everything that's happening now is happening now. What happened to then? You missed it. When? Just now. We're at now.
Discovery
Is
no
normal and
Dominant.
expected for us at this stage in the countdown.
10 subs.
Things
Ooh.
continuing to look good for an on-time liftoff.
What if they made an oxygen and fuel station that was on orbit? How are you going to get it up there, Iron? You're going to use that oxygen. You're going to use a rocket to get that oxygen and fuel up there. Might as well use that fuel to shoot something further.
Vehicle is in startup, which means that both stages are beginning to
Holy
pressurize for liftoff.
What the furt are you doing here? All right, so there's the T purge. They're getting
go for 2 and 24.
Hell yeah.
Launch director has given the final go. All systems are go for launch of Falcon 9 with KPLO.
So they're getting all the commodities out of the transporter erector because they don't want that lighting on fire
30 seconds, stand by for terminal count.
during the launch. Terminal camp. All right, fourth launch of the day.
14, 13.
We're 4 for 4 on the day, dudes.
11, 10,
Let's send it.
9, 8, 7, 6,
Thanks,
5,
Bert.
4, 3, 2.
Sound suppressor is on. Stand by for the green flash.
Ignition.
All right, KPLO is flying today. There it goes. Go, baby, go. To the moon.
Vehicles PG downrange. Stage 1 propulsion is nominal.
Yeah, Superbod, that's right. So that's a good liftoff of the Korean Pathfinder Lunar Orbiter, a South Korean satellite that will find its way out to the moon by the end of this year. Stand by for the call for
Falcon 9 has
here.
successfully lifted off from Space Launch Complex 40 at Cape Canaveral Space Force Station, carrying the KPLO payload to a ballistic lunar transfer orbit. So we are beginning to throttle down the engines on the first stage to prepare for a period known as Max Q. During this period, the vehicle is going to experience the highest amount of aerodynamic stresses
Vehicle
on the
supersonic.
vehicle.
No, tracker man. Okay. I'm sorry, what?
Max Q.
Maximum dynamic pressure.
And there was Max Q. So the engines are coming back up to full power.
Out of the throttle
We
bucket.
have 3 events coming up in quick succession in about a minute.
It looks fine to me.
First up
I think
is
it might be the
that stands
cameras.
for main engine cutoff.
Either that or
followed
they
by
launched in
stage
the golden
separation,
hour, so
and then
everything is
SES
very, very
1,
well
which stands
defined.
for second engine start 1. Main engine cutoff is where the first and second stages of
Payloads, Loco.
Main engine cutoff is where the 9 engines on the first stage will shut off in preparation for.
Loco, the reason why we haven't seen any Falcon Heavy launches isn't because they don't have Falcon Heavies ready. SpaceX has 3 Falcon Heavies waiting on the Cape. Payloads ain't ready. Payloads keep getting delayed for the 3 Falcon Heavy launches. No joke.
1, which is where the Merlin vacuum engine
seventh
on the
flight
second
for this
stage
booster.
will start up.
Boss, to the
continue
moon?
propel
Oh,
our
dude.
KPLO satellite
Look
to
at the
its
colors.
desired orbit.
Oh, that's pretty. No problem, Loco. Got you.
Those events are coming up in about
Man,
10
they have
seconds.
customers.
For
The
now,
customers
we are
just
enjoying
can't
some
deliver the
excellent,
payloads.
excellent
Seriously.
views
Oh,
of
the payloads
Falcon
got
9 during
delayed.
its descent phase.
Yeah, Arnade. True that. All right, we're looking up the business end of Falcon 9 here, of the Falcon 9 second stage. Stand by for the call for main engine cutoff, and there it is.
Main engine cutoff.
Air J. Thanks, man.
Stage separation confirmed.
Got a good set. We got a good separation there. Stand by for upper stage ignition. Stiffen ring separation confirmed. Perfect.
We saw the confirmation
Perfect.
of stage separation.
Perfect. Very
and,
good. Look,
the
you see
ignition
Daytona
of the
Beach
Merlin
right there.
vacuum engine on the second stage.
Oh, that's
coming
cool.
up in a few seconds, we're going to be looking for fairing deploy.
Golden hour,
Those
Phoenix.
fairing halves will separate from the top of the second stage and make
Good
their way
step.
past first.
I can speak
Fairing
English.
separation confirmed.
Good. Watch, ready? Boop. There we
And
go.
off they come. So those 2 fairing halves
Those fairings
are
have the
now falling back
insulation
to
on them.
Earth.
See that?
Those are the 4th flight for both of these fairing
Yeah,
halves.
boy.
We are going to be attempting to retrieve them with the help of our recovery vessel, Bob.
Look, as the sun goes down, right? The sun goes down over the horizon because it's 7 o'clock here over in the U.S. in the Eastern Time Zone. Look at the clouds that are look at the shadows that are cast from the clouds. Is that crazy or what? What a freaking view that is. That's nuts. These little chunks of stuff that are falling off of the first stage that's solid nitrogen, believe it or not. This little thing right here, if you watch it, that is an attitude control thruster, or ACS, that's shooting out compressed nitrogen gas. Not too far off from like the gas that you use to like blow out a keyboard. That's CO2, but they're using nitrogen. Why would they use nitrogen? It has less mass than CO2. Mass is the name of the game with spaceflight. The lighter the gas that you can take up there, more efficient it's going. Well, not more efficient. You basically save mass that way. What's interesting is that, you know, nitrogen will get a different impulse than CO2, than oxygen, than hydrogen. There are certain gases that for like a cold gas system like this that'll be more efficient. They'll give you more energy transfer, which is very interesting. But SpaceX is choosing to use nitrogen here, and you do see if you outgas a pressure, if you outgas nitrogen at high pressure into a vacuum, it immediately solidifies. That's what those chunks are coming off here. See them right there? What's the mission? This is the Korean Pathfinder Lunar Orbiter.
It can produce over
I know,
220,000
see, this part of the
pounds
future I
thrust,
like. We could
as
keep
opposed
this
to the
part.
engines on the first stage, which are optimized to perform at sea level.
I
Those
call
can
them
produce
oh, great.
192,000
You almost got me. I was about to say that on stream, dude. Nice.
This view that you see
Could
on
have
the
a small
left-hand side of
jellyfish
the screen,
team in.
that's actually inside the inner stage looking up. We mentioned those.
You get more specific impulse with a heavier atom. It really depends on what's reactive, what's non-reactive, what's inert, Owens. It really depends. Heck, I've read propulsion. I've read different articles on propulsion where you could mix the gases too. You don't need to just use nitrogen. You could use like, I don't know, like helium or something. Helium mixed with, well, you want oxygen. So helium mixed with like krypton or something crazy, and you could be more efficient. You could get better specific impulse from your attitude control system if you mix the gases out, which is pretty crazy. What's the mission for the Lunar Orbiter? It's got a bunch of scientific equipment on board from NASA and from KARI, the Korean Aerospace Research Institute. Yeah, that's the South Korean space program. You could use nitrous, but I wouldn't.
40 seconds away.
I wouldn't want to use oxidizer in a monopropellant system, Dan, because that oxidizer will find something and make it explode. You know what I'm saying? You could use that Cynerd, yeah. Yeah, interesting, Cynerd, yeah. First stage is coming in, guys. Guess what time it is?
Stage 1 FTS has safed.
It's time for supersonic retropropulsion.
Stage 1 entry burn startup.
So what the first stage is going to do is fire the engines here. It's going to fire, and you see when it's firing, it starts slowing down. But those engines are also they're providing a heat shield. They're providing a thermal medium for the Falcon 9 when it comes back in, so re-entry heating doesn't happen to the first stage. The rocket gases actually push the plasma away. That's the heat shield. You're looking at it right there. The rocket exhaust is the heat shield. That's why the first stage doesn't have like tiles or anything on it. That's a long burn.
That burn is in the books. We have one more to go on the first stage. That's a landing burn that's going to happen.
They're just
in
read
about
the
a minute.
instructions, Jeff.
We are going to be listening here in
Thanks,
about 20
Ed.
seconds for a call out called SECO, that stands for Second Engine Cutoff.
Iron Spark, damn, dude.
The engine that you see on screen will
Stage
shut
2
off its
FTS
engine,
has safed.
Thanks for the
and
10
then
subs,
shortly after that,
dude.
we'll listen for a
How
call
do they clean the soot off?
for
They don't.
a nominal orbital insertion.
Oh.
That means that the second stage is entering its coast phase and is exactly where we want it to be before it relights its engine a little bit later on in the mission.
Stand by for second stage engine cutoff 1 here. That's a really high trajectory from that first stage, fellas.
So we did see that the MVAC
Stage 1 transonic.
shut down.
Okay, we got a call for stage 1 transonic, which means they still have good telemetry on the stage, which means this information is
Nominal
correct.
orbit insertion.
We have
That
NOI
was the call out
on the
for
second
nominal
stage.
orbital insertion. The second stage.
Oh,
is coasting
look
for,
at that.
A bit longer, and we got views back of our first stage as it attempts its sixth landing on our
Stage
drone
1
ship.
landing burn.
You see some condensation around the grid fins there because it's cutting through the air, and the air is going from high to low pressure really, really fast. Where's that drone ship?
You can start to see
There
the
it is.
drone ship.
Stand by for the landing leg call. Huh.
Stage 1 landing leg deploy.
Uh-oh. Oh, come on, Falcon. Stick it. Uh-oh. That was off time, guys,
Sometimes
on the
video
landing.
cuts out. We'll wait for
That was off time on the landing, fellas. That was off
whether or not
mission.
the first stage
That was
was
off
able to
MET.
land. But for now, we know that the second stage is in its
Vortex of chaos.
orbit.
I thought that SSRP burn was very, very long. The supersonic retropropulsion burn was really, really long. It's usually not that long.
And that's a view of the KPLO payload.
Well, let's wait until we get a picture, fellas.
Signal.
Okay. Let's wait until we get a signal here. That was the 7th flight on that one, Sile. But something didn't look right. It was coming. It was oscillating a lot during that landing.
So we haven't heard confirmation of the first stage, whether it was able to land for the 6th time. But the second stage is now embarking on its coast phase between the first and second burns of the MVAC engine. After the coast phase, we'll light that MVAC engine for a second time, a bit after the T plus 34-minute mark.
Stage 1 landing confirmed.
What?
And before we head off, we did get confirmation
No
of
way.
the first stage landing. That is the 127th successful recovery of a Falcon 9 first stage and the 110th
No,
mission.
I don't believe it.
flying a
I want to
recon
see the
booster,
picture, man.
which
I want to
includes
see it.
both
Show
Falcon
me a
9
picture. I don't believe it.
Falcon 9.
I don't believe that for a second.
So we'll
Show
come
me the
back here in about
picture,
20 minutes.
SpaceX.
In the meantime, enjoy the space tune.
Elon, please. Please show me the picture, man. There's no way that landed. Oh my goodness. Pics or it didn't happen. Pics or it didn't happen, bros. There's... Oh! How? How? How did that... What? How did that even happen? Dude, that thing was toast for sure. Yo, that was awesome. Oh my goodness. Yeah, Nico, it's close. That was like that close from blowing up. Unbelievable. Dude, no freaking way. How does it even happen? Right, drummer? Right. BT. Dude. Right, Doc? Yeah. Yeah, Hunster, unbelievable. So, fellas, let me go back. So the second stage is gonna coast here. They're gonna refire the engine to put KPLO on a ballistic lunar transfer, and then they'll deploy the payload. But hey, Curly, thanks, man. But in the meantime, I want to go back. Let me look at some things here. Where did that first stage hit apogee? So I want to see what the first stage high point was. So apogee in orbital mechanics is the highest point that you go. If you're orbital, so if you're on a complete orbit, you have an apogee and you have a perigee. But for a suborbital trajectory, so not going into orbit, but going into space, you have an apogee. That's the high point, right? So that's the apex of your ballistic, well, your arc. This isn't a ballistic arc because it's propelled. It lands with the engines. It looks like we had a 140 kilometer apogee. Yeah, 140, and it stayed up there for a while. 140 didn't change, indicating that this ballistic arc was way downrange. That drone ship's probably close to 1,000 kilometers out. I could just tell by the number not changing too much. That means instead of the arc being like this, like think of McDonald's arc, right? It's like this. It's way out like that because the longer it stays up at 140, that means it's sailing downrange a long way. I thought that retro burn looked really, really long. They fired that engine for a very long period of time. Yeah, maybe Hellfish. Arc's like, I was summoned. Hello? 640 kilometers downrange, similar to a Starlink mission. Yeah, but Phil, look at how long this burn was. That burn doesn't usually last that long. And it looks like something went weird right there with one of the engines. Just like see how it's pulsing like that? That doesn't look like what we normally see. Because what SpaceX does is they fire one engine to reduce G-load on the vehicle during the landing, right? During that entry burn, they fire one engine, and then they fire 3. And then they switch back to 1, and then they shut it off. So you usually get a really uniform plume, and the plume ends up looking kind of like rectangular. That one didn't look rectangular. And then I also noticed during the landing, look, it landed, it's way past its timeline point. When you get off nominal situations, right, like this, where the booster doesn't match the timing, something did something that you didn't think it was going to do. And the way this booster came down, look at it, it's oscillating all over the place. That's a long burn, Radioactive. Yeah. Interesting. We get a picture of it? Looks like they were testing a new landing. That was definitely a trajectory that... I mean, it looked like that's kind of close to Starlink, but dude, how in the absolute frick? How did that thing land? Wow, that's damn impressive. Do the landing legs bounce when they open? No. I mean, sometimes you do get some residual thrust, Rex, when you shut the engine off. Shutting a rocket engine off isn't like flipping on a light switch, right? It's not on and off. There is residual propellants that can bounce the booster up and down. If you look at this picture, yeah, it's kind of hard to see, but yeah, see, note that the drone ship is spraying water everywhere, and you see some steam coming off the rocket. What they're doing is they're purging down the engines so that doesn't happen, so the booster doesn't catch on fire on landing. But you do sometimes get residual propellants in there. That does happen. The way I like to describe it is like if you have a garden hose and you shut the garden hose off, there's still going to be water in the line, right? So you go to wind up the damn garden hose and you get soaked, right? It's like that, same idea. So they purge out the engines, and that can cause you to bounce. But yeah, Falcon 9 doesn't really have any particular suspension. Well, the landing legs don't have reusable suspension. Let me put it to you like that. There is a shock absorber on the landing legs, but the shock absorber isn't a pneumatic or it isn't a pneumatic shock like what you'd see on a car, like on a car. It's not a pneumatic system like that, or even hydropneumatic if you like Citroens, right? It's not anything like that. Their damper on the Falcon 9's landing legs is actually an aluminum structure. It's an aluminum crush core. So it's an aluminum honeycomb, and it basically, if you need to absorb a shock, instead of damaging the landing leg, right, damaging the landing leg or the huge pneumatic gas strut, it crushes the crush core. It's a one-time use shock absorber. You have to replace it if it comes down hard, and the crush core is getting wrecked can cause the booster to bounce. Yeah, Phil, that was an extremely long entry burn. I've never seen an entry burn that long before. I mean, when it opens, check out right before the feed cuts out once the leg bounces back. That was just the camera glitching out, Rex. I know it's the other landing leg on this side. I saw it. It's just the camera glitching out. Could the entry burn maybe have been extended to make up for the nominal engine performance? I mean, I don't know. Maybe. This... Yes, that is the crush core. There it is. Hired, yep. I mean, it's kind of like that. Do Falcon Heavy cores go faster? Yes, way faster. Does an extended lengthy flight help give the mass of the payload more of a push? Yeah, of course. Higher burn time on that first stage, Kuro, yeah. You'll go further into space. More Delta V, dude. Maybe it's up to the weather? Yeah, well, that's the thing, dude. There is weather, there's space meteorology because there's solar winds up there, so you do have meteorology out of our atmosphere, but that doesn't perturb the launch like that. It's not like launching in a thunderstorm or something, you know? It's a crazy landing goal, yeah, that's for sure. I know what you meant, Phil. Hey, Alucard, what's going on? Well, because this is a ballistic lunar transfer, and they usually don't fly Falcon on a... I'm not calling it a BLT, it'll just make me hungry. Because they're flying on that ballistic lunar transfer, it's going to call for a weird ascent trajectory and a weird landing trajectory, guys. I'm going to chalk that one up to that. It's just not something we're used to seeing, and it may have stretched the C3, the characteristic energy of that first stage to the very, very limit. Jesse, I just found your channel. I appreciate you streaming this and giving your clearly educated commentary. I'll be sticking around. All right, Jessica, hell yeah. Thank you. I'm glad you like it.
Discovery,
You caught me on the last stream before I move. So, Jesse, I'm gonna be gone for a week. Me and my fiance just bought a house. So, this is literally the last stream that I'm doing before I pack all this stuff up. And I drive it 40 miles that way, you know? But yeah, thank you. And you got gifted a sub. Sweet. Yeah, Curly, maybe something may have gone weird with the engine, and the other engines may have compensated. Yeah, goalie, I think that was really close to not landing. So I've been traveling since May. So glad you got the house. There you go, Badger. Yeah, you told me. I remember you told me. Yep. There were no scrubs with all 6 launches. Congrats on the new house. Thanks, Claw. I appreciate that. Good luck with the move. Don't hurt yourself. Bon, I appreciate it. Thank you. No, I'll be good. I've been moving every day this week. I fixed up my crappy pickup truck, and yeah, I've been using it. Is this your first house that you own? Yeah, Tyler. First time for me, man. Lived in apartments and with my parents. That's it. It's a huge step, dude. Yeah, firework. Yeah, there you go, Zuna. Yep.
Discovery, go and throttle up.
Arctic Pepper, 11-month resub. Congratulations on the new place from a fellow Mass Space fan. Hey, Vortex. Yeah, dude. Yeah, man. I found a house. It's pretty good, man. It's quiet. Outside of 495, dude. Very nice. Very nice. There you go, Tyler. It's great not having a landlord. Yep, I am the landlord. Yeah, username. I think we'll be okay. But yep. New reviewer and follower. Dude. Right on, man. Metro DC? No. You guys have a 495 as well. I'm from New England. I'm from Boston, guys. Boston. I've lived in the city for a long time. The bank is your landlord. Shh. But I know that DC has a 495 as well. Is that legal? I will make it legal. You can be as loud as you want, and the only person you have to worry about is Brimo. Yep. Hell yeah, Vortex. Good stuff, man. Alright. We're about halfway up here to second stage engine start 2, and then second stage engine cutoff, Seco 2 right after that, and deploy. No, Kuro. No, it doesn't. That's right, Buck, for sure. The inferior beltway. No. How big is the house? It's not the biggest size up, but it's on a lot of land. Yeah, Black, me too. 4.5 months for it. It's on a ballistic lunar trajectory. They're gonna launch it. This burn right here is gonna push the satellite in a way that the sun. All right, okay. There's gonna be some words here, and these words are gonna be ridiculous. So I'm going to explain this in nerd speak first, and then I'll explain it in not nerd speak after that. Okay, so For the nerds, this is a ballistic lunar trajectory. They're going to put KPLO into a transfer orbit with its apogee near Earth, Sun, Lagrangian point 1. And they're going to shoot this thing out on a Hohmann transfer to the Earth, Solar, Lagrangian point 1. Okay? When the satellite gets out to ESL1, right? ESL, nice. If you know, you know. It'll execute a burn out there, and it'll execute a retro burn at EML1, and EML1 will kind of shoot it back towards Earth, coupled with the retro burn, and that will put it on it's basically a bi-elliptical transfer, and that's going to put it on a trajectory where it intersects the moon's orbit when the moon's going by, and the moon will pull it in. It's literally, it's like, so normie way of explaining it's like playing pinball with a satellite. So the sun obviously has more gravitational pull than the Earth. It's way bigger, okay? And then the Earth is over here, and the moon is even smaller around that. So trying to shoot stuff at the moon doesn't have a lot of gravitational pull, right? So if you try to shoot something at it, it'll just go by. There's nothing there to slow it down unless you hit it, which they did that in the 60s, Surveyor program and Ranger and stuff. Surveyor by accident, but you don't want to hit it, you want to get into orbit around it. So what they're going to do is they're going to shoot this thing at the sun and use the sun's gravitational pull to basically pull it further away from Earth and counteract Earth's gravitational pull. And that'll actually get the satellite to slow down. And believe it or not, there's neutral points in gravity between the sun and the Earth. There's a point which is much closer to Earth than it is to the sun, because the sun is way bigger, where the Earth's gravitational pull and the sun's gravitational pull actually cancel each other out. It's kind of just like a little whirlpool, and asteroids and stuff, not asteroids, but like little micrometeorites get caught in it all the time. There's Earth-Sun L2, which is where James Webb is. James Webb is actually orbiting around ESL2, which is really cool. It's kind of stuck in that little tide pool, a gravitational pull. This thing is going to use that tide pool to shoot it back towards Earth and on a intercept trajectory with the moon. Now, why would you do that? Well, if the spacecraft is using more of the sun's gravitational pull to push it in the right direction than it is using its engines, well, that's way more efficient. You use what you have. Think like a sailboat. You have a sailboat with engines. If you use the wind, you're way more efficient than if you had the engine going all the way across the ocean, right? Same idea, but with space. It's like I said, pinball machine, space pinball machine. Dude, it's the most metal thing I've ever heard. Dude. I love reading about this stuff. Like with orbital mechanics, NASA just sends spacecraft and they surf like the gravitational pull of planets. It's really freaking cool, actually. I'd like that time back, please. Non-refundable, bud. Could we utilize this in KSP? No. KSP doesn't have n-body physics. So you can't use the Lagrangian point to slow you down. If you have Principia, you could. Yeah, that's cool, Forge. MS Paint, please. Here, SpaceX showed a pretty good graphic of it. I'll show you. So, this right here is Apollo. This is what they did during Apollo. They shot this thing out at the moon, and they tried to get it to the point of highest potential energy, meaning they basically tried to shoot this thing at the point where the moon's gravitational pull and the Earth's gravitational pull basically cancel each other out. You see how it kind of crosses about 5/6 of the way to the moon? Well, the moon is made out of similar materials. It's a relatively similar density, but it's 1/6 the size. So it has 1/6 the gravitational pull, right? That's why you see them hopping around on the moon in the Apollo footage. They could just kind of jump around and get down. Sorry. So they're aiming for that. They aim right for it. But right when it gets to this point, the moon comes by and it pulls it in. So you start accelerating again. And then once the moon pulls you in, when you get to the point which is called pericynthion or perilune, which is the lowest point in a lunar orbit, you fire the engine to slow you down. Basically use the engine to hit the brakes. So instead of that, that's how they did it during the Apollo program. They basically, it's a balance between kinetic and potential energy on your spacecraft. That's basically what orbital mechanics is. It's gravitational acceleration affected on a mass. Newton's laws. It's very straightforward stuff. This right here is what they're doing now. So the sun, if if this was a sun, no, not the right way to say that. If the sun was on this, it would be about a mile that way, or about 1.6 kilometers that way. So what they're going to do, they're going to shoot it out there, right? And the sun is going to pull it in that direction, but it's going to find that little tide pool there. So Earth-Sun Lagrangian point, that neutral point in gravity between the sun and Earth, because it's so much closer to Earth because the Earth has way less gravitational pull than the sun does. So it's going to kind of get stuck in that tide pool. But they don't want it to get stuck in there. So they're going to get it stuck they're going to get it kind of to orbit at the tide pool, that gravitational tide pool, so to speak. And then but they don't want it to get stuck there. They're going to burn the engines in such a way that it basically shoots it back towards the moon. And when it gets to a certain point right here, the moon will pull it in, just like the Apollo program. But they'll be going a lot slower, right? Because they're not on a high energy transfer like the Apollo mission, right? And the satellite with its tiny little boy thrusters will be able to just circularize around the moon. It's really, really, really cool stuff. Yeah, it's called a ballistic lunar trajectory. So BLT. Ballistic meaning that the spacecraft doesn't really need to use thrusters that much. Ballistic means just an object that kind of just keep going and it's not affected by any particular force. So that's ballistic. It's just affected by gravity. I'm not calling it a BLT because I'm going to get very hungry. So let's not call it that, okay? It'll take about 4.5 months to get out there, Tesla Max. But why not just do what Apollo did? You need a much bigger rocket, Smoked. That's the key here. You need a much bigger rocket to do what Apollo did. Falcon 9 is not as big as a Saturn V last time I checked. This is one of the reasons why it's so difficult to go back to the moon. You need a big freaking rocket to do it. So this transfer is it's not as high energy as the Apollo program, but with this transfer, your transfer time is going to be a lot longer, but your delta V, your energy used, because they're using the sun's gravity and that Earth-Sun tide pool, that neutral point in gravity that I was talking to you about, they're going to use that to get it back to the moon. So it's going to take a little bit longer, but it's way more efficient doing it this way. So if you notice, the engine was outgassing there. What they're doing is they're chilling back down the engine because the engine's been sitting in the sun. So they're going to start hitting it with liquid oxygen and RP1 to cool the engine down and also prime the engine. You don't want to go to fire the rocket engine and have it dry fire. That would be bad. That usually ends with an explosion. Yeah, this thing is just going to surf around on the Earth, Sun, and the Moon's gravity for the next 4.5 months. Yeah, and it'll eventually find its way out to the moon. It's really freaking cool. Really interesting stuff. Like I said, space pinball machine. Ding, 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 ding. Is this what Falcon Heavy will do for delivering gateway components? You know what, Tesla Max? I'm not sure. I don't think so. I think it's going to be more like the Apollo program, but there's a caveat to that. There's a caveat to it that it's a little strange. It's a little hard to explain. Hang 10 Koza, indeed. No, Brick, don't get me wrong, guys. We're talking about rocket science here. So, like I said, I like to try to explain the nerd stuff to show that I know what I'm talking about, and then I'll get to the straightforward stuff. Moon by Christmas, hopefully. Is there any difference between this and an Artemis orbit? What's an Artemis orbit, T-Man? Yep, that's right, Vortex, you got it right. They use what's called perturbing forces or orbital perturbations to shoot satellites off in different directions. Like, for instance, we don't have a rocket that's powerful enough to shoot a payload of any reasonable mass. Oh, there goes that solid oxygen. A payload of any reasonable mass outside of the solar system, so solar escape velocity. What they did in 1977 when they launched Voyager 1 was they made it pass by Jupiter. Jupiter has a lot of gravitational pull, and they made it pass by Jupiter. And instead of the satellite... Got an AOS through Melindy? Instead of hitting the brakes, turning around, and firing the engines when it went past Jupiter, it just kept going. And using Jupiter's gravitational pull, they were able to accelerate Voyager 1 to a speed where it would get out of it would hit solar escape velocity, which is, yeah, they use Jupiter as a big slingshot. Yeah, pretty cool.
Welcome back to the webcast of the Falcon 9 mission carrying the KPLO payload designed and developed by Carl.
Yeah, I'm not sure about the Gateway's orbital trajectory, guys. I'd have to go and read.
In about 30 seconds. And to recap what's happened so far in the mission, we had a smooth liftoff at 7:08 p.m. Eastern Time out of Launch Complex 40 in Cape Canaveral, Florida. The first stage, which made its 6th flight today,
yeah, it's too late now, BD.
Landed on our drone ship.
Thank you for explaining. I appreciate it. Yeah, sure, no problem, dude. It's what I do.
Our second stage engine to
I love this stuff, man. It's the best.
And then after that, we will shut it back down for another short coast phase before deploying our KPLO payload.
Stand by for second stage engine start. There it is. You see the blue line moved? Yeah, see the blue line moving? The engine is firing. Speed is increasing. Saturn and Uranus rewards you too. Yeah, you got it, Vortex. My guy.
It doesn't look like we are going to be getting video views of the second stage, so we'll be waiting for the call
of
SES-2.
Use gravity to push you around. So you got to remember, like, on Earth, it's really hard to use gravity to get you anywhere. Because if you drop something, what is it going to do? Just because we're a lot closer to Earth than we are to the moon or the sun or anything else, right? Like, I mean, terra firma is right there, right? So up in space, though, you have 2 points of gravity. You can use perturbing forces to do all kinds of crazy things. And guess what? It'll just stay up there. It'll just keep doing it. Object in motion stays in motion unless acted upon by an outside force. It'll just keep doing that until something else perturbs it. But see, here's the thing.
Nominal orbit insertion.
We got an NOI on the ballistic lunar transfer trajectory.
So we're waiting for SES-2 and SECO-2.
I'll tell you in a second, Brick.
We got an even better call out, which is nominal orbital insertion. So the second stage engine started up,
I remember that,
burned
man.
for about a minute, and then shut back down. Again, we are in another coast phase, and while we wait for the payload to get closer to its final destination, we're going to pause commentary.
They have ground stations, Toast, yeah.
But we will come back just before payload deploy, currently scheduled to occur around the T+40 minute mark. So until then, enjoy the space tunes once again, and we'll see you back here in about 4 minutes.
So the second stage is going into solar orbit, Deadbringer. Yeah, disposed of in orbit around the sun. Disposed of meaning they're just going to ghost ride it until it runs out of batteries. It ain't going to crash into the moon. Remember, they didn't aim for the moon. It's going to go, it's just going to keep going. The satellite, though, well, they'll deploy it and it'll get stuck in that gravitational tide pool. Yeah, Tesla's going big. So, like, up in space, you can use these gravitational perturbations to get different satellites to do stuff. So, like, take the Earth for instance. The Earth is not a uniform sphere. It's not a perfect sphere. We're all basically standing on a gigantic jello mold that's spinning through space. It kind of jiggles. There's that whole plate tectonics thing, right? You know, what makes volcanoes go and earthquakes and whatnot. It's a big, giant jello mold. I hate jello. Oh, come on. There's always room for jello. So, because it's like kind of non-uniform, the center of mass of Earth isn't in the direct volumetric center. It kind of weeble wobbles around. That's, you know, on our axial tilt. Earth kind of does this, right? And they can use that non-uniform gravitational pull to influence orbits. That the effects on a satellite made by a non-uniform gravitational pull of a celestial body, so basically Earth being a big jello mold, right, can perturb a satellite. It can change its orbit. I'll give you an example, like a spy satellite, for instance, which is this is not a spy satellite. This is a lunar satellite, right? A spy satellite uses these perturbing forces to be able to fly over the same spot every day. Every time it does an orbit, it kind of moves a little bit because of that non-uniform gravitational pull, right? And a satellite, say a satellite that you want to go and see your enemy's missile bases or something, right? You use that precession or that non-uniform gravitational pull to make the satellite fly over the same spot at the same time every day. Like the spy satellites that you see in movies where people are like Enhance. Enhance. Oh, I can read the newspaper that guy is reading. Oh, it's too blurry. It's too pixelated. Here, allow me to enhance the JPEG. Click. Yeah, those are in those types of orbits. Sun synchronous is what it's called. You can use perturbing effects in space to get the satellite to do different things, which is really, really freaking cool. Here, let me get this 720p resolution JPEG and let me just enhance it to 4K. Boom! Why can't you do that in KSP? Kerbin has uniform gravitational pull, Tesla Max. I just want a picture of a goddamn hot dog. Dog. Yeah, Brick, it's good stuff, man. Just like this thing is, they're going to shoot it at the sun, and the sun's going to tug on it and get it stuck in Earth's solar Lagrangian point 1. Yeah. NASA and the Europeans, like I said, when they launched James Webb, they got James Webb stuck in that gravitational tide pool called L2 that's on the far side. So, like, if the sun is here and Earth is here, L1 is in between the Earth and the sun, and L2 is on the outside of the Earth and the sun. So it's like Sun, Earth, L2. James Webb is floating in that gravitational tide pool out there, which is really, really freaking cool.
From Falcon 9's second stage, which is scheduled to take place about 30 seconds from now.
It's not JPEGs, they're enhancing. It was a joke, Vortex. I was making fun of the X-Files, but you're right. All right, stand by for deploy. Watch. You'll see this kind of ring. It'll kind of detach like this, and the satellite will go. They have like a clamp that holds the thing in place, and a little latch pops off, and the clamp gets undone, and then there's just springs that shoot the satellite away. That's how they separate it. Springs. Yeah. See what works. All right, here we go. Watch, you'll see the ring just whoop, there it goes.
KPLO deploy confirmed.
See? Springs.
And there you have it. Confirmation of successful separation of KPLO from Falcon 9's second stage.
4.5 months,
still has a bit of work to do over the next 4.5 months before getting into a lunar orbit, but we do wish it safe travels.
You see those pictures?
SpaceX, that is going to wrap up our webcast coverage. We want to thank the
What are the white things floating by?
Research Institute for entrusting us with today's mission.
So those little chunks of whatever are actually solid oxygen. That solid oxygen, or no, solid nitrogen, excuse me. The solid nitrogen is from the second stage attitude control thrusters. The second stage has little jets on the bottom that can turn it to point it in the right direction for payload deploy. And if you have a gas at extremely high pressure and you outgas it into a vacuum, it'll immediately solidify. So you get just kind of snowflakes of solid nitrogen going all over the place. Or, you know, or aliens, whatever. Whatever. They don't need to enhance the image. They can read a newspaper for it. Once again, you guys take it. It's a joke. But, yeah, that's good. I was wondering if a mission could be done where a sat goes through a ballistic lunar injection, but instead burns through the moon's grav well and then through the Earth's grav well for a slingshot. Why would you use the moon for a slingshot if you're going to use the Earth for a slingshot? I'm sure if there's some scenario where you needed to do that, you probably could. Is there any difference between this orbit and the Artemis one? The Artemis one. Yeah, T-Man. It is exactly, actually, it's exactly like the rectilinear halo orbit in every way. Except every single way. Yeah, no, two different orbits. Two different orbits, completely different transfers. No, they're not the same at all. No, those aren't the same thing. Do you believe we are alone in the universe? No. Brick, James Webb will tell you that the universe is freaking huge. There's got to be something out there. That's like standing on top of a mountain and looking at a forest and being like, well, I don't see any animals, so I'm the only one here. And it's like, I don't think that's how that works, man. Any pics of the first stage? We did get one, yeah, here. I'll show you. There it is. I can't believe that thing actually landed, man. Isn't that what Nancy Roman is? Vortex? Yeah. Well, it was fun. Keep doing what you're doing. Don't be a stranger then, man. Damn. You don't even have to sub. Just don't be a stranger, man. Tell me what's going on. I don't care if you don't watch the stream. Just don't be a stranger, man. Sometimes I wonder where people go. Like, not because I'm worried about, sub count. I don't care about that. If you're a good streamer, and you put your heart into it, you're gonna get people watching, right? Like, but yeah, don't be a stranger, man. I'm like, I hope this viewer that watched the stream every day for like 5 years didn't like die or something. Taven, you're over there? Oh, hey, what's up? Yeah, it's a tiny satellite, Forge. Yep. Like, you guys ever look like on your Steam friends list, you have that one viewer, and you bring up like the last conversation. This is a meme, people seen this all the time. You bring up that last conversation, it's like, all right, man, I'll see you tomorrow. All right, man. Last online 7 years ago. It's like, I wonder what happened to that guy. It's that. It's the same idea. Anyway. Well, fellas. You got a few friends like that, right? Yeah, well, Brick, I don't see that problem as insurmountable. Humans are smart. We'll find a way to go to these other galaxies eventually and probably exploit whatever's there. Because we're humans. Historically, that's what we do. We'll find a way. Some persistent mother trucker out there in the future is going to find a way to do that. EJ looking pretty cute today. Thank you. Yeah, we'll find whatever's out there and probably kill it. Bro, why am I getting all emotional about you moving out of that room? Oh, well, yeah. Guys, this is if you're a first-time viewer, thank you for watching. I do appreciate it. I saw a lot of new faces in here today. I hope you guys enjoyed the launch coverage. I've covered almost every single Falcon 9 launch since the Cassiope mission. Yeah, in 2013. I'm EJ. I've been doing STEM stuff here on Twitch for about a decade. Yeah. I've been coming to the same party for the last 10 years, and that is in no way sad. But I've lived in an apartment for the last 4, and me and my fiance finally got a house. So, onwards and upwards. You're catching me on the last stream before we move. And the British will steal it and put it in a museum. Par for the course. And man, if they aren't doing that, then something has gone horribly wrong, don't you think? Hey, weather guy, what's up? Yeah, Dak. Yeah, thanks, man. Thanks for the kind words. Vortex will always love your work. Time for dinner. All right, man. Belongs in a museum. Hey, Linux. Geek, I don't see your last anywhere. Oh. On your last stream here, I just wanted to say thank you for all the content you provided us all. You have made us all smarter and dumber in some cases. You're welcome. For the dumber part. With all your knowledge, but most of all, thank you for becoming a good friend. Good luck to you and Brimo in this new adventure. This is not the end, just the beginning. Yep, onwards and upwards. Can you please keep the background noise in the garage? I'll try. Ping? What are you pinging? Communications from Denuri in about 20 minutes from now. Sweet. So, yeah, guys, you guys are catching me on the very last stream from the apartment. So, I figure we'll pull the curtain back and I'll show you where the last 4 years have been. Also, I have tremendously bad hat hair. Just thought I'd let you know. How do I say goodbye? Make a recording of the background noise? There's a recording of the background noise right now. Here, I'll just shut up for a second. Ready? There you go. We'll just put that on repeat. That's my air conditioner going freaking overtime here because this apartment is an old building and it doesn't have insulation correctly, so it gets really hot in here. Who actually wants to hear that? I don't know. So, guys, when I moved out of my parents' house 4 years ago and into the apartment, I did something, and I'll do it again here. Whoa, somebody gifted 10 subs. Thank you. Jackal had a 12-monther in there. I do appreciate it. Trisamy had a 10-month in there, too. Very nice.
Discovery, go and throttle.
My favorite line gets to say on the tour: the title of most famous doesn't belong to you any more than the artifacts the British Museum do. Nice. This is the last stream from the apartment. Yep. That's right up there with 10 hours of Enterprise engine noise. Yeah, that's a great video. T-Dave, 41-month resub. Good luck with the move. Very sure more good thing. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. I bought an auto shop with a house attached to it. You think I'm kidding? I'll show you guys that next week. So, last thing that I did from the last stream was this.
Discovery, go and throttle up.
So, welcome to my office. You guys haven't seen it here, but I told you I'm in a room that is the size of a freaking walk-in closet. Yep. You remind me of Riker. I'll take that. I'll take that. That's pretty good. Ah. So, that's not the closet. That's actually the door out, to be honest with you. Yeah. There's the door. So, what I did last time was this. Is that an Apollo? It's the space shuttle over here. And then, yeah, Saturn V. There's a Lego Saturn V. But, we're going to do this. Take down my jersey. Because it will get hung up at a new location. Go Avs. Ew. Yep. So there it is. Last stream from here. Hang it up in the trash. Yeah, I'll make sure I do that when I go over to your mom's house, Chris. So anyway, guys, that's it. That's what I did when we left my folks' house. Yeah, it's been a pretty fun ride. 10 years in. Well, on December 23rd, it'll be 10 years in. So, when is the next stream? It'll probably be, so, okay, let me get here. Here's a crap post from Elon that you guys might appreciate. So, we get the internet installed here, and then I got to get everything set up and tested. So, worst case scenario, I'll see you on the 16th, okay? Worst case scenario, I'll see you here. Best case scenario might be the 10th, 11th, or the 12th. No guarantees, though, okay? Guys, I got to move everything. I got to get all this packed up, and then I got to figure out how I'm going to get it all into the garage with a nice internet connection, okay? Unfortunate. Yeah, might be. You saw that garage, though. So, have I cleaned it since? The Bruins jersey? Yeah, a long time ago. Very fortunate. So you said on the garage is your new office. Yeah, that's happening. What player is it? It's blank. It's a blank jersey contract. I buy the blank jerseys because I don't like having, if they trade the player, like being that guy with the player that doesn't play on the team anymore. It's just a blank jersey. Luckily, you have a great community that can help with the internet issue in the garage. Actually, Verizon said they were going to figure it out, Woody. Verizon said they'd install a jack in the garage for like an extra $60 because apparently I have a business connection, so it's preferred. We'll see where that takes us. That's why I'm not sure when I'm going to be back, you know? Your 21st is the 16th. All right, Joe. Well, that's the worst case scenario, dude, so who's going to make out like they did all the work on a Minecraft server in the next 2 weeks? I'm serious. I'm the edgelord. So, guys, I just want to say from the bottom of my heart, thank you very much. you know what's coming. You know what's coming. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, everybody, the subs. Thank you guys have been here for the better part of a decade. I do appreciate it. I'm not going to go on the spiel that, I have the best community ever. I wouldn't have been able to do this without stuff. Like, seriously, guys, I mean, I bought this garage for the stream, so... Okay, that's not entirely true, but...
Discovery, go at throttle up.
But also, hey, Bunny, 11 months, thank you. Be safe and come back to us after the move. We need you. I'll try to be back here as soon as I can. Worst case scenario will be the 16th. Worst case scenario, okay? It's a business expense. And the truck. I mean, there's that.
Discovery,
So, yeah, fellas. Wendell, 57 months. I do appreciate it. Let's see who we can raid in the meantime, and I'll let you go. Congrats, be safe. Thank you. Now you can say to people, screw you hippies, I'm going home. Phil, 62-month resub. Oh, yeah, Ted, implying I already haven't done that. Yeah, no, believe me. Oh, yeah. Drive safe and may the move go smoothly. Guys, let's see what my buddy Haas is up to. He's playing some GTA RP. Onwards and upwards. That's right. Etymos. Prosable Horsey. That's right. Breaking news, you broke the pasta. Ban that man. Mods, kill him. Kill him. Come on. It will please me. Alright, dudes. Well, and dudettes. I'll see you on the other side. This is only the beginning. Remember that. Remember that, not remember. Remember that. Oh, geez, why don't you just tell everybody where you're frickin' from there, guy? Oh, yeah, that's gonna be real good. Why don't you just dox yourself too where you're at it, you frickin' moron? Alright, seriously, though. Thank you, everybody. I do appreciate it. And it looks like Haas's audio is going through there, too. But, yeah, I do appreciate it. And I will talk to you guys on the other side. We're crossing the streams. We're doing it. We're doing it. We're doing it. Seriously, though, go raid Haas. He's a good dude. He's a good dude, and he has a